everybody, Critic here, and it's once again time to rip apart a stupid video that I found on the internet. This is Cancerous Commentaries. The subject of today's commentary is a slideshow commentator by the name of the Ephrommentator, who recently uploaded a video responding to a rant that a political commentator named Razorfist uploaded a month prior. Razorfist's rant was a defense of a pop culture commentator named Heel vs. Babyface, or Az for short, who had gotten into controversy regarding an impassioned rant he went on about the addition of a preferred pronouns option to the character creator of a role-playing game named Starfield.
Bethesda, there is nothing I love more than to sit down, comfy chair, turn on my PC, fire up a brand new RPG, lose myself, think, oh my god, just think of this world, just think of all the planets I can visit, all the immersive things that I can get involved with, all the fights, all the relationships, all the people I meet, all the places I go. I'm so excited to go there. And you know, I love nothing more than, with all of that laid out in front of me, I love nothing more than to be dragged out at every fucking conceivable opportunity so you can fucking current day us. Sorry, did you want to get immersed in our world? Yeah, well, guess what? Fucking pronouns!
Needless to say, Ephrom disagreed with Razorfist taking Az's side, and I, in turn, take issue with his disagreements. Why is that? Let's get into the video and find out.
You smell of poo-poo pee-pee.
I see.
He's blowing it all out of proportion? Oh no, someone blowing something out of proportion in a video game so they can rant about it for comedic effect. Golly gee willikers, I hope nobody makes an entire fucking YouTube genre like that. In 2004. You should know all about 2004, seeing as that's where your politics flash froze.
Okay, first off, this tweet doesn't actually see Angry Joe saying that this is being blown out of proportion and is more him making fun of the idea of complaining about something being woke in the first place by sarcastically suggesting a review show that rates things based on how woke they are.
Ephrom, the punchline to Angry Joe's joke is that Az is blowing something out of proportion. You yourself argued that Angry Joe is making fun of the idea of complaining about something being woke in the first place.
And is more him making fun of the idea of complaining about something being woke in the first place.
Why would he be making fun of that if he didn't think that doing so is akin to blowing something out of proportion? Even if you want to argue that Angry Joe is instead making fun of Az for placing far too much emphasis on whether or not a game is woke as opposed to whether or not it's actually any good, or for being a dishonest grifter who doesn't actually care about any of the issues he champions, he would still essentially be joking that Az is blowing something out of proportion.
And this also reveals the issue with the AVGN comparison more generally, because even ignoring the fact that, yeah, some of these people might not like the AVGN and the angry video game style of reviewing more generally, which is perfectly possible.
Perfectly possible, but not relevant in the slightest. Why? Because disliking how someone is expressing a criticism does not refute the criticism being expressed.
The comparison falls apart due to the AVGN complaining about problems that most people agree actually exist.
Is that really the standard we want to set for the validity of Razorfist's comparison? Whether or not the majority of people agree that the problem Az was ranting about in a comedically angry fashion is a problem? Because there was once a time where the majority of Americans thought that black people were better off as slaves. So by this logic, if Az went on an angry rant denouncing slavery, Razorfist would be wrong to defend him by pointing out that angry political commentators have existed for centuries because the majority of people disagree with the position that slavery is wrong. Also, how are you so sure that the majority of people disagreed with what Az said? The dude gained 10,000 subscribers over the course of the controversy, and the video he made on the matter has a relatively positive like to dislike ratio. That same video is littered with comments expressing solidarity with Az that have received hundreds of upvotes. Comments that I will now be flashing on the screen for you in a comedic montage. I don't even need to appeal to Az specifically to refute Ephrom's claim. The fact that other huge commentators like Razorfist, Geeks and Gamers, The Quartering, and Young Rippa59 made videos defending Az that their fans generally agreed with shows that this was not a one-sided controversy. Does none of that matter? I'm not saying that nobody disagreed with Az, but to say that most people did is patently wrong. Last but not least, why is Az wrong to complain about the preferred pronouns option being put in Starfield's character creator? You didn't provide an explanation for why you feel he's wrong, you just said he was and expected me to just blindly go along with you.
You smell of poo-poo pee-pee.
I see.
The point being, the anger, although hyperbolized, at the very least feels justified.
Right. Just like how those of us who were on Az's side felt that his hyperbolized anger towards the preferred pronouns choice in Starfield's character creator was justified.
While many do not feel that such rage is understandable when seeing an option to select pronouns.
Why not?
Which most people think is a cartoonishly small thing to get upset over.
And a 30-year-old NES game that most people have either forgotten about or didn't even know existed, having flawed mechanics, isn't a cartoonishly small thing to get upset over? I'm just saying there are plenty of people out there who dislike the AVGN style of reviewing games. Hell, you yourself admitted as much.
Yeah, some of these people might not like the AVGN and the angry video game style of reviewing more generally, which is perfectly possible.
So, maybe you don't want to be making an appeal to triviality here, since that thinking can very easily be applied to the AVGN even if you think that his complaints about the games that he screams about are valid. Also, as I just mentioned a moment ago, there were plenty of people out there who felt that Az's rage towards the preferred pronouns option in Starfield's character creator was understandable, so this is a moot point.
Remember, hyperbole is defined as extravagant exaggerations. However, in order for you to exaggerate those feelings, you have to have them in the first place, and if your underlying point is moronic, then your rant is going to be moronic.
So why is Az's argument moronic? Are you ever going to explain why you feel that way, Ephrom? Because we're almost halfway through your video, and I have yet to receive an explanation for why you think Az is wrong. Imagine if in my original video on this drama, I just said Az was right and that the Actman was wrong for disagreeing with Az and provided no reason as to why. Luckily, I chose instead to do the opposite by explaining why I took Az's side. You guys probably want to know what I think about Az's rant. Well, I hate to disappoint the contrarians in my audience, but I agree 100% with everything the man said. I too am sick and tired of woke ideology being forced into nearly every aspect of our entertainment, from video games to movies to cartoons to comic books, because it's taking away the primary draw of escapist fiction, which is that it's meant to be an escape from those real-world issues. Now, whether or not you agree with my reasoning for taking Az's side, at least I did provide a reason. Also, I love how Ephrom said,
However, in order for you to exaggerate those feelings, you have to have them in the first place.
because it implies that Az is a grifter who doesn't actually believe any of the things he says, and is just trying to farm views and subscriptions from outraged viewers. Even ignoring how he would have to provide evidence for that claim, one's motivations for making an argument does not invalidate the argument itself.
You're going to look less like James Rolfe and more like, to continue with the angry reviewing comparison, that really infamous clip of the irate gamer trying to get the red gem in Aladdin.
Just how the hell did they expect me to jump this far? Well, maybe if I get a nice running start I can do it. Alright, here we go. Oh, come on! Now I've got to waste my time climbing back up the platforms, avoid getting hit by enemies, and dodge their stupid arrows. Boy, what the hell was I thinking? There's no way I can reach that. But maybe if I tried jumping from the higher platform. Alright, let's try this. You son of a bitch! I don't believe this! Look how close I was! Ugh, somebody call 911, because I was robbed.
You know, that clip that was uniformly made fun of because you can get that gem incredibly easily with the blanket? Which Chris had, by the way?
You son of a bitch! I don't believe this! Look how close I was! Boy, what the hell was I thinking? There's no way I can reach that.
Okay, I agree that the irate gamer is a retard, but how does him being wrong about this issue make Az wrong about this completely different issue? This would be like if the following exchange took place between person A and person B. Steven is a pedophile. Really? What's your proof for that? His neighbor Mark sexted a 14-year-old and exchanged nudes with them. That sounds horrible, but how do Mark's actions prove that Steven is a pedophile? Oh, would you look at the time? Welp, gotta go. You're not making an argument, you're just appealing to guilt by association.
And of course, just like this stream several years later, the fact that Chris is basing his anger on something that doesn't make any sense inherently makes his hyperbolized reactions just not entertaining.
Firstly, that's a subjective opinion, so I don't even know why you bothered saying that. Secondly, could you please explain why you think Az's complaint doesn't make any sense?
And saying that doesn't mean I'm not acknowledging the reaction is exaggerated, just that I think it's exaggerating something that doesn't make any fucking sense in the first place.
We are officially 2/3 of the way through Ephrom's commentary, and he still hasn't explained why he thinks that Az's exaggerations don't make any fucking sense in the first place.
However, the Rageaholic does have a response to that. You see, other people don't think that's the case, apparently.
Wait, so are you conceding that there are people out there who think Az had a point? Because I legit have no idea what that sentence is supposed to mean. Maybe I'll figure out what Ephrom's point is when he responds to the next bit of Razorfist's video. So let's continue.
But I agree, it is no big deal. And if you don't believe me, suggest the pronouns be removed. I guarantee within moments your Twitter mentions will be stacked to the ceiling with strangers eager to inform you precisely why it would be no big fucking deal.
You see, I don't even get what the point is supposed to be here. Well, if you said that, others would disagree. Okay, why should I give a shit?
It's not just that people will disagree with you, it's that you'll get unwarranted hatred for suggesting that pronouns be removed from games like Starfield, and you'll run the risk of being deplatformed over your opinion. That is what Razorfist points out later on in this very clip.
It's such a small deal that when an impossibly based Battletech fan modded the 2018 PC game to remove the silly-ass penis pronouns from the game, it was permanently fucking banned from the Mod Nexus website. But remember, folks, it's no big fucking deal. And to prove it, they'll deplatform you.
The reason why any of this matters is because I thought that preferred pronouns weren't that big of a deal. So why is any of this shit happening?
Are these people rational?
Well, I'm about a good chunk of the way through your commentary, so I can confidently say that the answer to that question is no.
What are their reasons for disagreeing?
Is being a brain-dead retard a suitable answer?
Given you prefaced this argument by saying you don't think it's that big of a deal, obviously you wouldn't agree with these people, so why do you think we should put so much stock in the opinions of people you don't agree with?
I refer you to my point about deplatforming.
Ah, but he has an example of this occurring, so let's address that real quick.
It's such a small deal that when an impossibly based Battletech fan modded the 2018 PC game to remove the silly-ass penis pronouns from the game, it was permanently fucking banned from the Mod Nexus website. But remember, folks, it's no big fucking deal. And to prove it, they'll deplatform you.
Yeah, and those people are also idiotic in my opinion. I don't get your fucking point. I just don't.
So Ephrom acknowledges that the people who claim that the preferred pronouns option in Starfield is, quote, no big deal, are acting in ways that betray that claim, and even agrees that their deplatforming of dissenters is idiotic, and yet he still doesn't understand what Razorfist's point is? Alright, here is an explanation of Razorfist's point that even a 5-year-old can grasp. Starfield having a preferred pronouns option in its character creator is a big deal because modders are getting deplatformed for trying to post mods that remove the option, and commentators are being attacked for criticizing it. If this wasn't that big of a deal, then neither of those things would be happening. Get the picture now, moron?
Let's see, anything else to cover?
It seemed both avowed lefties and fence-sitting skepticunts alike all decided to form a douchebag drum circle to shit on this guy. The Act Ma'am, some hack guy, Pris Gay Run. I didn't bother checking his Twitter feed, but I'm sure Review Tech was firing off with all 5 chins. If they haven't been remotely relevant since the Sarkeesian witch hunt of Aught 15, chances are they were going full mask off on a dude for having the gall to record a funny fucking rant. You remember funny, right, fellas? It's what your index finger smells like after VidCon.
Okay, first off, whether or not that rant was funny is entirely subjective.
Not according to what you said only a few minutes ago.
And of course, just like this stream several years later, the fact that Chris is basing his anger on something that doesn't make any sense inherently makes his hyperbolized reactions just not entertaining.
Do you watch your videos before you upload them to YouTube? Because this seems like a contradiction that you would catch and then correct during the editing process.
But even if we ignore that, the issue wasn't merely this man recording a funny rant, it was that he said stupid shit during it.
Hi, Ephrom. I'm a first-time viewer of yours who has no idea what any of this is about. Would you mind explaining to me exactly what stupid shit as said during his rant? I would really appreciate it.
And second, Hopefully now you know precisely why I called these cockholsters out on their fair weather fucking bullshit years ago. In retrospect, it's abundantly clear most of the skeptosphere on YouTube only attacked Anita in a failed Freudian attempt to distance their own brand of authoritarian collectivism from hers. Hell, most of these motherfuckers make her look moderate these days.
You know, I'm not going to sit here and act like it's impossible that actually all the YouTube skeptics did become authoritarian collectivists while I wasn't looking.
Thank God, because I did not want to spend the next hour criticizing all of the collectivist authoritarian nonsense that the amazing atheist has been spewing over the years. I've got a Halloween special to work on, goddammit.
But I am going to say that I find it weird you're using as a jumping off point to discuss this, them making fun of somebody for being angry at non-binary gender options in a video game.
First of all, that was not Razorfist's jumping off point. In fact, at no point throughout that clip does Razorfist ever say, "You're not allowed to poke fun of people who are on my side, or else you're a collectivist authoritarian." Instead, he goes off on these skeptics for, quote, shitting on Az, which could mean joking about him, but could also mean criticizing him for bullshit reasons. And I have reason to believe that it's the latter he takes issue with, since there are numerous times throughout his rant where he goes after their arguments, some of which you go on to play in your own damn video.
After hours laboring in vain to write the first funny fat joke of their wasted lives, they all seem to settle on a single talking point, and what they loosely construe for an argument can be distilled to the following. What's the big deal? Pronouns are part of the English language. This video is just the same as a feminist freakout. Pinko pronouns, particularly those you have no option to disable in-game, aren't a feature any more than some asshole dev deciding your main character is named Humperdinck or some shit and not allowing you to change it would be a fucking feature. This isn't the addition of options, it's the excision of them.
For the love of all things holy, one of the tweets Razorfist cited when discussing these skeptics was from the Act Man, and something tells me he wasn't joking when he posted this. So unless you want to tell me otherwise, I think you need to get your head re-examined.
Especially given, say everything you want about non-binary gender identities or the concept of gender identity itself, it is incredibly individualistic.
I don't recall Razorfist ever saying that it wasn't.
It is the idea that only the individual can determine their own identity and that it can be radically different from everyone else's. Hell, it even includes the idea that two people identifying the same way can have radically different understandings of that identity and mean it in entirely different ways. What the fuck is collectivist about that?
It's not necessarily the belief itself that's collectivist, it's what's being done in promotion of the belief that's collectivist. Such as, I don't know, the deplatforming of modders who try to remove the preferred pronouns option from Starfield's character creator. But you wouldn't know anything about that. After all, you only admitted that not only was this stuff happening, but that the people doing it were idiotic.
It's such a small deal that when an impossibly based Battletech fan modded the 2018 PC game to remove the silly-ass penis pronouns from the game, it was permanently fucking banned from the Mod Nexus website. But remember, folks, it's no big fucking deal. And to prove it, they'll deplatform you.
Yeah, and those people are also idiotic in my opinion.
You have to be intellectually dishonest. That is the only explanation for the levels of cognitive dissonance on display here.
Furthermore, what exactly is authoritarian about the idea that you can identify however the fuck you want, and that said identity can mean whatever the fuck you want?
I think you should ask the women who have their athletic scholarship opportunities taken away by transgender female swimmers whether or not being able to identify however the fuck you want is authoritarian or not. You should also ask that question to all of the people that have either lost their jobs or even gotten jailed because they refuse to respect somebody's identity.
Do you know what any of these words mean?
Evidently you don't, or I wouldn't need to make this response.
After hours laboring in vain to write the first funny fat joke of their wasted lives, they all seem to settle on a single talking point, and what they loosely construe for an argument can be distilled to the following. What's the big deal? Pronouns are part of the English language. This video is just the same as a feminist freakout.
OMG, he made that point in a silly voice. Now I know it's wrong.
The fact that you were more concerned with how Razorfist was stating your position than if he was stating your position accurately is very telling. Because it shows me that you care more about sounding right than actually being right. Also, don't even try to pretend that you haven't done that exact same fucking thing yourself to others.
You do not know anything about me, my views, my values, my ideals.
You
Do your
don't
research
even
next
know
time,
me.
you disingenuous fuckwit. And just so you know, you are not the arbiter of how people deliver their criticism, nor how much anyone is allowed to levy criticism to any given product.
You are not the arbiter of how people are allowed to criticize either your videos or the critics of High Gartian Spice.
Neko believes Carmen's a woman. Others believe Carmen's a man, because he's a male. So, they call Carmen a he. Neko calls Carmen a she. Why do they do that? Because differing beliefs.
Respect Akumu's opinion.
Now you might be wondering, why am I bringing up the Alt-CC versus Neo-CC days? That's the past. After all, that's what everyone does when you criticize fucking Mama Doodletones.
It's because I haven't mentally matured in the slightest in the past 5 years, and therefore have a very hard time getting new information.
Will I, an online personality, side with you and validate your opinion, or will I give you another video to type angry comments in? Am I on your side or the enemy's? And this, dear viewer, is why I hate the culture war.
It has this bad habit of making me both paranoid and condescending.
Yes, CC, holding others to different standards than they hold themselves to since 2016.
Pinko pronouns, particularly those you have no option to disable in-game, aren't a feature any more than some asshole dev deciding your main character is named Humperdinck or some shit and not allowing you to change it would be a fucking feature. This isn't the addition of options, it's the excision of them.
Again, how is allowing a player to choose to play as a non-binary character if they want the same as forcing one really specific thing upon them?
That's a great question, and to answer it, let me pose a hypothetical.
Say that in Starfield's character creator, one of the questions that players were made to answer regards their opinion of Adolf Hitler's policies about Jews. Now let's say that the only two answers players can give are, quote, Hitler was right to gas the Jews, and, quote, Hitler didn't gas enough Jews if you ask me. Understandably, this would make people opposed to Nazi ideology very upset. With that in mind, imagine the reaction I would get if I defended this option by saying, quote, political ideologies have existed for centuries. Even if you don't like it, you can just ignore it, because it doesn't come up anywhere else in the game, nor does it change how the game's characters treat you. Why is it so wrong for Bethesda to wanna be inclusive of the Nazis who play their video games? Video games aren't just a form of escapism for people who think like you. I think you can start to see the issue with your reasoning here.
Also, the preferred pronouns option doesn't actually change how the in-game NPCs refer to your character. So that whole choosing to play as a non-binary space explorer bullshit goes out the window.
Also, both of those are features because that's just what features are.
Oh really? A Bethesda RPG forcing a name onto your character would be a feature? Man, I wonder why they haven't implemented that in any of the Elder Scrolls or Fallout games. Could it be because that's bullshit? What do you have to say about that, Henkill?
Get out of my house!
Oh, okay. Hey, wait a minute. This is my house.
This would be like if I said Sonic 2 removed features from Sonic 1 because I didn't have the choice to turn off the spin dash.
This analogy doesn't even work because Sonic the Hedgehog 2 doesn't force you to continually use the spin dash in order to beat the game. Whether or not the player uses the move to their advantage is entirely up to them. In fact, I'm pretty sure there are videos on YouTube of people trying to beat the game without using the spin dash just for the fun of it. No, this is more like if Sonic the Hedgehog 2 made Sonic a racist sex offender, portrayed him as a good person, and then forced you to agree that he's a good person in the main menu before letting you play the game as him.
Oh, there's also this part from the ending credits where he compares being asked to select pronouns, I guess, to Socrates drinking hemlock. I don't even have a response to that other than, I think you're being a tad overdramatic, personally.
Geez, I don't know, Ephrom. The high rate of suicide among transgender people, even the ones who receive gender-affirming care and live in a society that generally accepts their identity, would suggest that Razorfist is being appropriately dramatic.
Also, Socrates did accept his death and drink the hemlock. You do know that, right?
Agreeing to drink the hemlock does not mean that Socrates agreed with the reasoning for why he was being forced to drink it.
As a cursory glance at the Wikipedia article about the trial of Socrates will tell you, Socrates, who was accused of corrupting the youth of Athens and impiety, chose to drink the poison in deference to his belief that one should not escape their legal responsibilities to the society they live in. That doesn't mean he agreed with the accusations made against him, only that he was bound to honor the system that condemned him by his own principles. This makes Razorfist's comparison apt, since he's not criticizing Socrates himself for drinking the poison, but rather the people who are forcing Socrates to drink the poison for bullshit reasons.
It's pretty funny how about 5 minutes of research is enough to completely debunk Ephrom's argument.
Anyway, final thoughts. Although this video was not terrible, it does show the mental gymnastics those opposed to pronoun options in a video game had to perform in order to justify their opposition. And honestly, I think that says more about their side than anything I could say ever would.
Wow, those are some ironic final thoughts. Allow me to explain why as I give my own final thoughts on Ephrom's video.
Funnily enough, just like Ephrom didn't think Razorfist's video was all that bad, I myself don't think this was the worst of the videos from Ephrom that I've covered. It's still really bad, but he's made far worse. That being said, many of the things that are wrong with this commentary are the result of one egregious mistake. Ephrom's inability to articulate why Az was wrong to rant about the preferred pronouns option in Starfield until the very end of his video. And even then, the argumentation he provides is the old-ass talking point of it enhances role-playing for people who want to be non-binary space explorers. It's especially insulting in this case because he then ends his commentary by accusing Razorfist of being the one engaging in mental gymnastics. Another big problem that plagues this video is how often Ephrom just misconstrues Razorfist's argument, or misses it entirely. Oh, and he of course ignores evidence that runs counter to his narrative, but I digress. This video isn't the worst of Ephrom's that I've ever seen, but that isn't really saying much. I mean, is breaking your leg really that much better than getting shot in the stomach? I thought so.
I'm Alex the Critic, and I'll see you guys next time.